This is the Fantasy Football Blitz.
Do you know who I am?
Powered by whotostart.com.
Who the hell are you?
whotostart.com.
Hello.
The Fantasy Football Blitz.
Who the business?
This is the Fantasy Football Blitz. Powered by whotostart.com. On 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And 104.5ESPN.com.
Back for another year. Let's do it. Darren Tietkin, whotostart.com. Getting you personalized fantasy football advice. How are you, D?
Doing good. How about you? It's football time.
Fantastic. Great to have you back. Hey, let's start with tonight's game. Who are we keeping an eye on?
Well, I mean, you can't have your eyes on this game without having them on Tom Brady. I mean, up until a couple of weeks ago or a week ago or so, we thought that this could be Jimmy Garoppolo getting the start. But
Yeah.
Brady gets the start. Obviously, Roger Goodell is going to be hiding in his apartment somewhere in New York City, and should be an entertaining game.
I bet it's a beautiful apartment, though, considering the cheese that cat makes on an annual basis. Who are some of the other big-time players are we expecting tonight in this ballgame? Maybe a couple of sleepers as well.
Well, with Martavis Bryant out for a couple games, or a few games actually, for the Steelers, Marcus Wheaton becomes their number two. He's not the physical presence that Bryant is, but if you're looking to fill a flex spot, he's a nice receiver. Then obviously with Le'Veon Bell out, D'Angelo Williams will step in, and obviously he's not Le'Veon Bell, but if you're struggling to fill that second running back spot, he could come in through a pinch.
Darren, for week one, you want to run through a couple of the projected top point getters in week one?
Sure. Obviously, without Jordy Nelson, Aaron Rodgers is going to have to find some other people to throw to, but the Port Bears defense is just looking terrible here this year. So we got Aaron Rodgers as our number one quarterback. Usual suspects near the top there, Tony Romo against the Giants, Andrew Luck against the Bills. Running backs, we definitely love Adrian Peterson on that night game on Monday night in his return. Obviously, the Niners have lost quite a bit on defense, so Adrian Peterson should have a huge game. Definitely like your usual PPR monsters, Matt Forte, Jamal Charles. Both of those guys are going to be actively involved in their team's passing game. So those are our three running backs. Receivers, Des Bryant, obviously going to be in a shootout with Giants. Love him. Julio Jones against the Eagles. And then obviously tonight, Antonio Brown should be a receptions machine for the Steelers.
Who are you, or how are you projecting the Saints this week going on the road to Arizona?
I forgot the actual stat, but the Saints have been pretty good on the road the past three seasons, despite having a record hovering near 500 overall. They've actually been doing quite well on the road. Obviously, this is a tougher test going to the desert to play the Cardinals, but we like their chances. If Drew Brees and his receiving core could put some points on the board, they're going to hang tough with the Cards this week. Let's
get to some questions. Here's one via text. Flex PPR League, Danny Amendola, Kendall Wright, or Trey Mason?
Amendola's actually, his stats towards the end of last season, the last two games and then through the playoffs were actually pretty good. Brandon LaFell's, I think, still walking around in a walking boot. So Amendola's gonna see some targets, especially tonight against the Steelers secondary that's not what it used to be. So kind of like Amendola there.
Tom Brady or Ryan Tannehill?
Boy, obviously Brady is going to be guns blazing tonight in this opener, but Tannehill's one of our favorite quarterbacks this week. We actually have Brady at 6 and Tannehill at 10, but the difference between those two guys isn't really very much. Mm-hmm. Tannehill facing, the Redskins were dead last against the pass last year. If you held a gun to my head, I would probably say Brady's the safer option, but Tannehill's a great start for those that have him as well.
Who to start? Flex, PPR League, Percy Harvin, Ruben Randall, or John Smokey Brown with the Cardinals?
John Smokey Brown.
How about that?
Sounds like As much as I love to go with something that's Smokey Brown, I'm going to have to go Ruben Randall here. I guess he's an ex-LSU Tiger, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm, he is.
Definitely a nice spot for him this week, especially this week. Looks like Victor Cruz is not going to play. That Dallas Giants game is probably going to be one of the highest scoring of the weekend. So Ruben Randall coming in as the number 2 receiver for that Giants team. We really like him a lot this week.
Who to start? Flex, PPR League, Marcus Wheaton, Stevie Johnson, or Marcus Colston?
Well, we really kind of touched on Wheaton being the new number 2, at least for a month with Martavis Bryant out. So this game should see some passing from Big Ben. So Wheaton is a nice little sleeper this week.
Fantasy Blitz, Darren Tietkin, who2start.com. Get your questions in. Lots of ways you can do that. Here's one in the huddle. PPR League, who to start at flex. Wheaton, Chris Ivory, or Roddy White?
Well, as much as we love Wheaton, Chris Ivory is one of our top running backs this week. We have
really?
Oh, absolutely. The workhorse, for the Jets, facing a very soft Cleveland front seven. He's going to see, probably 20 touches against that Brown front seven, so it could translate into close to 100 yards and probably a touchdown. So, yeah, get Chris Ivory into your lineup.
About a minute left. Here's one via email from Sam. Heath Miller or Jason Witten, who to start?
Both are pretty safe quarterbacks in terms of, being outlets for their respective quarterbacks. I think probably this week we like Witten just a little bit more. Probably going to be a little bit more scoring in that game. So, but yeah, like I said, both are nice security blankets for their quarterbacks. Both should see some receptions. But I think Witten's probably your best bet there.
A couple of more. Mark Ingram or Julius Randle, who to start?
Until we see how that Dallas backfield shapes up, I think we're going to avoid that situation altogether. So go with your other option there.
Very interesting. Best offensive line in football. I'm buying them in real life. We'll see how it does in fantasy land. Jonathan Stewart or Alfred Morris, who to start?
I think you go with Jay Stu there, just based on matchup alone. Facing the Jaguars, he should see a lot of touches. I think you go with the upside of the matchup and play Jay Stu. One
more. Who to bench? Sammy Watkins, T.Y. Hilton, or Jarvis Landry?
Watkins, I think you've got to sit Watkins until we see what Tyrod Taylor could do at quarterback for the Bills. I mean, I know he's their number 1 wide receiver, but just too much up in the air, and the other two guys have better matchups. But I think you got to sit Watkins there. Our
producer Jimmy Chester will get us out with this one: Batman or Superman?
I'm going to go with Batman.
You got to be kidding. Batman is not a real superhero.
And
he's a dude with gadgets.
That's the rub. Superhero needed strength from some unnamed source. Batman just is your average guy that's just getting it done.
But that's the point. If Superman was going against Batman would try to throw his dart or what is his little thing is whatever. He has to use a car or a boat to escape. Superman just flies away faster than a speeding bullet. That's not even close.
Matt, you've changed my mind.
I have lost so much respect, Darren, for you in this moment, picking Batman over Superman. Hopefully your football advice is better. We'll find out, and we'll chat again next week. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
That's Darren Tietkin, who2start.com. It's the numeral 2, who2start.com. Get personalized fantasy football.